Now, I don't use hesitation training for everything, kind of an overkill, so what I tend to use it on is maneuvers that I'm struggling with. So hesitation training is when you introduce pauses or hesitations into your flying, and it does a couple of things. So one of the first things it does is it actually doubles up on the amount of practice that you can get in a single flight. So if you imagine that you're flying in a straight line, you generally put in a few inputs at the beginning and then you kind of correct aileron as you're flying along, and then you do a few inputs at the end to get it to stop. Now, if you introduce hesitations, you'll start, and as soon as the model kind of stabilizes in forwards flights, you want to stop it. And you start again and stop it. And what it's doing is it's actually doubling up on the amount of work and practice that you're doing, especially for things like where it's flying to you nose in. You may have that as a weakness. Instead of just flying once by yourself, you know, stop it, start it, stop it, start it. So it's really good for doubling up on the practice. The second thing it's good at is attacking your weaknesses. So if you take something like Piro Tictocs, you can build up a lot of bad habits. So what happens is you start the Piro Tictoc and then it skews slightly, and then you kind of come back again, but then you're having to put in a lot of corrections to get it to come back where it was. And you're kind of building bad habits. And what hesitations allow you to do is, as you do that first half Piro, stop, correct it where it is, and then do that half Piro back. And that means you're starting from a stable position. So instead of from a compromised position where you're drifting off, you're starting from a more stable position, which means you get a much better go at that return over here. And I find the third thing that it's really good for is your start of maneuvers. So often if you do something like Piro flips, you'll start pirouetting, you'll go into the Piro flips, and the first couple will be completely rubbish. You know, they'll wander off, they'll gain height, they'll move right or left. And then you'll kind of get into the routine and you'll figure it out, and then you'll get control of it and it'll come back. Now the problem is the start is your weakness, and you're not actually practicing it very often because most of the time you're just doing the Piro flips. So if you do it as a Piro flip, and then you stop inverted, and then you start another one and you stop upright again. Now you're practicing those starts over and over, which is good. Also, you're going to notice that maybe you're putting in the wrong input. So you're putting in the input so that it immediately drifts off. So now you're going to be teaching yourself to do pure inputs. So basically you're just repeating those starts a lot. So I think let's just get out on the flight line and I'll show you some exercises and I'll show you how you can apply it in some of the maneuvers that you're learning. Okay, so as an example for a basic maneuver, we'll do a circuit. Now, what will happen is if you go around the circuit, and at the point where you turn to nose in, some people just freeze on the sticks. So you're just now frozen on the sticks, you're waiting for it to come round, you don't actually have any control. And you can get through that, or you can do that for a long time without learning control of the nose in position. So with hesitation, what we'll do is we'll actually start the circuit and then we'll stop. And then we'll give it forward, correct the direction, and then stop. And the same again all the way around. And if at any point you feel uncomfortable, you can just hold it in that position. Think about where you're going to move the sticks next, and then start the forward and the turn. And you'll find this is a bit disconnected if this is a weakness for you. So you'll find that you're adding forward and then separately adding rudder and then separately adding aileron to keep it in the same place. And that's okay, because this will come with time. It'll all start becoming one thing. So you just keep doing that, get it moving round, stop it, have a breather, move it forward again, correct everything. And obviously you still want to keep it nice and round. And it just allows you to pause, take a breath, figure out where the model is, and stay connected. And it's forcing you to fly the model as well, which is good. And then you'll find that your circuits will be much more controllable. You can control the speed, the forward speed. You'll be able to make the shape perfectly, and you'll be able to come out exactly where you want. So another maneuver, more advanced maneuver we can try is Piro Tictocs. So let's just turn the head speed up. So a lot of people will start doing Piro Tictocs and then they'll gain a little bit of height initially and they'll wander off and then they'll kind of get it. Now, if you can start adding pauses into that, so we'll just pull it over and stop and then push it back. Now you've got a lot more time to control what the model's actually doing. And you can see if it's going skew. So if I've not done that initial push over correct and it's gone over to the left, I can bring it back, try and straighten it out on the next one. So this has a lot of value. And the other thing you can do is you can also make it pause at the top. So if I wanted to, I could bring it up, pause it, and continue. And this has huge benefits in terms of that you're coming off the controls and then you're having to reapply them. So in a way, you're making it a lot more difficult, but there are no easy rides. You come off the control and you carry on. And then when you find you start going back to Piro Tictocs again, you'll just be able to keep them in place a lot easier. And the third positive that I said about hesitation was the start. So if you often people will do Piro flips and they start pirouetting and they'll go and then they'll settle into a rhythm and then they'll kind of have it. But you only got to practice to start once on that one and it wasn't very good. So a very good way to add hesitation into this is to do like that. So just flip to inverted. And the other benefit for this is you're now practicing your inverted starts. So if you do Piro flips and the initial ones are very weak, this is a great exercise. It'll also teach you how much lead to start on the cyclic. So as you go over, you won't give pure forward or backwards elevator. You'll actually lead slightly left or right, depending on the one you're doing. And the nice thing is, from inverted, we're starting from a stable position, not a compromised position, and the same for upright. And if you do your aileron and we can do the same for aileron Tictocs. So we just want to stop on the end, maybe in the middle, and then a stop in the middle. And this is hard, this is really difficult. But it is helping and it will help for things like your Tictocs. And you can add it to lots of other maneuvers. So you can add it to rolls, hesitation rolls, really good because you're practicing, you're seeing it knife edge, you're seeing it inverted. So loads of maneuvers you can add it to. Now, I don't use hesitation training for everything. It's kind of an overkill. So what I tend to use it on is maneuvers that I'm struggling with. So in the case of like the circle, it's that tiny bit where it takes a tiny amount of time and you actually don't get any decent practice. So you can just extend that amount of time that you get to practice that weakness. And for things like the Piro Tictocs, where you may be getting bad habits because you're starting things from compromised positions, then it makes sense to do that. So you don't have to use it for everything, but it can be a useful trick or method or technique. So let me know how it goes, give it a go, and tell me what maneuvers you're trying it on. And it'd be great to hear from you. So until next time.